Hey YouTube, it's Dimitri. Today I wanted to do a year 2025 in review, just kind of covering what we went through as a channel, as my personal career, and some of my personal shifts and changes and what we're working on related to just my quant finance journey over the last year. So let's just start off here with some of the YouTube stats for the year. We'll go through our Buzzsprout, which is my podcast, Talking Tuesdays with Fancy Quant Stats, and then I'll dive into publications, careers, thoughts, decisions, and kind of what I'm looking at moving forward, as well as going over a little bit of Project Phoenix. So when we dive into the publications here, we got 1.2 million views, which is pretty good. I think we're like at 5 million something lifetime views. So we're really picking up steam here. YouTube Shorts have been a big help. I'll tell you that. Watch time, we're at 60,000 hours of watch time for the year, which is down from past years. 13,000 new subscribers, which is down, which I can talk about here in a second. So not stellar, not awful. I will tell you guys, shorts are great and wonderful for views. They destroy the channel in itself, which I've been struggling a lot with here. I will place a lot of shorts and some get like 2, 3, 4, 5,000 views. And then some get like 200 views. And it's been a little bit of a challenge to figure that out. There's a lot more work that goes into it. I'm using Opus AI to actually run the clips and everything. Often there's some weird things with them because it's AI, and let's be honest, AI kind of sucks, but it makes things quick and easy, and I can get some content kind of generated and out the door with that. I've also been playing a little bit with paid marketing through YouTube. So if you guys go look back at this past year, there are some videos that have like 10, 20,000 views. You can pay inside of YouTube now monetary funds to kind of push and market through YouTube. So it's like, I don't pay for like views. Like, it's not like I pay, $1,000 and I get X amount of fake views. No, you pay money for marketing, and then that marketing goes out through that venture, and they go and they find viewers that should match what you're looking for, and you can pay to have more views or more subscribers. I will tell you, it is more expensive than actually running subscribers like organically. Like the cost that I pay per prescriber through these marketing campaigns is very high. Oddly enough, if you pay YouTube to brand and market and push some of your content, like a video or two, all of your stats tank for at least a month to 2 months. So I lost about 4 to 6 months of really good growth this year because I started a different venture back probably in about April or May. I tried to do some marketing and branding for some speaker series, which I thought were really good quality. I thought would be great and helpful. I dumped a bunch of money into it. Unfortunately, I spent more really than I made on anything. So trying to help people with a pay-per-click method doesn't work on the quant space. I'm just going to let you guys know that in general here. And then we'll dive into Buzzsprout. So Buzzsprout is just my podcasting platform that I use that tracks my stats, and I load everything onto here. All right, so stats for the podcast download itself. I'm not huge into the podcasting, as many of you know. I do a few platforms through Buzzsprout, which is awesome. And then we have 11,809 downloads. Again, really tiny compared to the YouTube channel itself, but it's something I like to do. It's something I like to talk about. I will tell you, I've been a little self-critical. I don't know what I'm going to say a little bit. I've been very self-critical of myself, and I have not been able to get myself to do the podcasts like I used to do them. So back in the olden days, as many of you know, when the podcast just started, I really liked coming on and talking and going through ideas. It helped me vent and go through things. But I'm often in my head now of like, how are people going to view this and what should I talk about? And I'm going to be deviating on too many topics and it's too convoluted and no one wants to listen to me. And so I've shifted this year, and oddly enough, the more guests I have on the channel, more people want to come on as guests. I think the guest quality this year has been stellar. I think my ability to interview has not been that great. I wish I could go back through and ask more personal, in-depth, detailed questions. So I'm struggling to get that piece dialed, and I'd love for people to like really share like details on like growing up as a kid, what makes you tick, like what's driving you as a quant. I think it shocks a lot of people that a lot of quants aren't like driven by money. It's just not an important decision. I went through some rough career changes this year as well. A few senior quants that probably many of you have seen, heard of, listened to at conferences, those sorts of things, actually reached out to me and said, hey, like, I know you're going through this rough patch. Talking about like choosing management or choosing compensation versus choosing interesting work. and how many of them went through the interesting work route and they don't really make that much money, but they're much, much happier doing that. And there was some of that advice and going back and forth between that. So a big thank you to my community and people around me just in general that have kind of reached out on that front. This year also on the career front, we got 2 papers published in 2025. So I was really excited about that. For many of you that follow me, I left my job last year. A little bit of backstory on that. I made an announcement that I was leaving in April just to the CEO and the COO. And then I took some time and helped them get everything wrapped up and said, hey, I'd give you 6 months to do that. They cut me early. Wasn't real happy about that. But, we got things worked out. We sorted some things out, got everything kind of done that needed to get done for me to leave. And I felt like I left them in a really good position. So that was great. I felt good on that. But part of this was getting these papers published and out the door. I have one more paper I was trying to finish. I was going to finish by my deadline leave in October, like October 2nd or 3rd or 4th, whatever the date was. But I didn't get it done. And then, of course, my data is proprietary and I could not take my data with me. I did have them agree to let me send my code so I could go back through and look at the code. Unfortunately, when I left, I emailed my code and it was in Python. So anyone that knows this troubled headache, when you email Python code, the email servers just kind of delete it and they don't allow you to send it because it could be malware or some sort of virus or something like that. So I don't really have that. And I have a paper on weight of evidence binning, on optimality, and looking at why it's important. It's more like an introductory paper, but an interesting paper on weight of evidence binning and the implications on credit and credit modeling. I don't know if I'll ever finish it. That was one regret for this year, is I wish I would have had more time to really do that. Perhaps worked weekends if I would have known when my end date was coming. But we did get 2 papers out the door. In February, we got the kurtosis residual conjecture, which I would love to do the actual hands-on experimentation and design, which I was planning on doing this year after I left my job, and I haven't got there yet. There's been tons of things coming up as fire drills and interesting projects, and I feel like I'm stretched too thin trying to help too many people that are just not paying me, and that's okay. I like helping my community and the people around me, but I am at the point of trying to figure that out, and I'll talk about that and monetary rewards and everything here in a second. But that paper got 1,329 downloads, which is awesome. Big excitement for that. One of my employees, or colleagues per se here at the last firm, did a really interesting paper on this. I kind of guided her, and then she designed her experiment more towards what she was thinking and how she wanted to do it. Let her run with it, right? Your paper, your publication, like, let me see what you do. Challenge the ideas we have here. It was really interesting, but they never published it. I'll have to meet with her probably in the next few weeks and see what's up. I'm just kind of curious where that's at. But that paper was interesting and fun to make and write. I did Waves, Quantum Theory, and Retail Credit here, which had 761 downloads. We published that in July of 2025. I think this is a really good paper in the sense of I was just hoping to kind of shake the industry a little bit and show them how it's being done. There are things that you could do that are more towards the quantum framework. I have an interesting interview coming out as well. With a quantum researcher, like a real quantum researcher, not like me, like, reading books and self-studying. But there are some things, for example, looking at like how probabilities and interactions work, and there are cancellations across that, and how you can get to some sort of probabilities at the end of it. Now, again, what we're working on is a baby step towards that in the credit space. And yes, I actually did use the model that I'm vaguely referencing in the paper in production to make actual money. So the firm itself is using it to make money. And yes, you can use a little bit of loosely tied quantum theory to credit pricing through that kind of process there. All right, now diving into the career a bit here, looking at this is really my life in a nutshell and all the pieces that tie into it. For anyone that doesn't know me, I absolutely love, eat, sleep, and breathe quantitative finance, risk management, in everything I do. Like, I make these videos for peanuts. I like to travel. I spoke at a bunch of conferences this year. I went to a bunch of universities. As I'm pulling up here on LinkedIn, it makes me happy. I'm kind of smiling here a little bit. A shout out to Bowling Green State University. They made a post here thanking me again for coming out and talking with the students. Again, I got to travel out to Bowling Green. I went out to Columbia. I went out to Fordham. I believe there's some other schools. Apologies if I missed your schools from earlier in the year that I went to and attended. I really like getting out there, and that has been a lot of the drive here. So back in April, as I mentioned, I'm not going to go through too many of the details. I'm not going to rehash a lot of this. I don't really want to bring up too much of it just because I think people are going to be on edge about this in general. But I left my job. I had some health concerns. I really wanted to focus on my personal health. one of the big milestones we closed out was the first ever public securitization at the firm I was at. So I went through this process. I did all the actual statistical modeling through this. We went through with the complete team, right? This isn't just me doing it. There's a complete team of people involved with this. We had some amazing bankers on our side helping with some of this process, but I did all of the modeling behind this. We got all this past the securitization. I went through, I pitched this to our bankers. I pitched this to the rating agencies. We got it stamped, approved, rated, and it's on as an actual public securitization. This is huge. Like, this was big for me. I'd never done this at other firms. I had an idea what the goal was. I talked to some people, grabbed some textbooks, did some reading, and we just did some modeling. We went through this process, sold the bankers, explained how everything worked on it. And they're like, yeah, this makes complete sense. This is exactly, this is logical how you're doing it. Again, everybody on this typically views the performance of them, not the methodology so much, but knowing me, I want to make sure the methodology is sound and structured and put together well. And then we went through the securitization agencies and they looked at it, and we did some pitches and met with a few different ones and did that. So again, first public securitization for the company I was at, first public securitization for me as well. So it's just a really exciting time in that process there. Now, the other things on top of this was it took me 2.5 years to find a head of model development to come in and be underneath of me when I worked. I was the head of quantitative risk and research in that process. I was very excited of who I brought in. I think they're doing excellent work when I was there. Again, I was there through August of this last year. They're on the ground running, getting things done, making progress, and hitting their stride, which was happy. That made me happy. It was a good accomplishment for me in the year of getting someone hired that fits the culture and the team, the pieces, and puts all that together in that sense. The other piece of that is just trying to figure out what I'm doing and walking away from the table. So I have a lot of stress, so not surprising as to many of you. I had a lot of stress with the job in itself. I still am thinking about it, right? I left, and it's been even when I announced last April and going through this process, I'm still thinking about the pros, the cons. Should I have left? Why did I leave? I've documented and written down some notes as well. So it's I don't forget it, because I often feel like you're in a situation and it seems the world's chaotic, and then you leave and then you walk away and you look at it and you're what was really the issue? Why did I walk away? It was a really good job. And it was a good job. There's a lot of great things about it. But I left because I just didn't feel like I was getting my value out of it, in the sense of I couldn't get them across the finish line. I couldn't get the direction down that I wanted to get done. I think we would have eventually got close to somewhere good, but I don't think it was where I wanted to head with it. And more importantly, it wasn't on the timeline. I felt like I was being pushed quite hard to get things done. And I felt like, given what I had and my ability to kind of move people around the organization. So when you're in a senior role, I expect to be able to move people around and make things happen, because that's what leadership does. And getting that just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And so I thought about it. I thought, I'm getting paid good money. I walked away from a pretty good salary. I walked away on top of that from a promotion to be the CRO. And I walked away from almost 6 figures of stock options. So it was a big financial shift and letdown. And even as I'm sitting here thinking about it today, I'm was it the right decision to walk? What am I trying to do? What am I going through? And everyone's been kind of asking, what am I doing with this process? And so I did what's called Project Phoenix, which was kind of rising out of the ashes, starting over, burning everything down, and just starting over afresh. Part of this has been me trying to slow everything down, which has not worked great. It's I'm pumping the brakes and trying to stop. And it's people are coming hey, we would love you to work on this project. Can you do some consulting on this project? I have some help. I need some advice. Everyone's wanting something from me. And I do an awful job at my time management and just telling everybody no, too bad. Too bad. I just want to help anyone. Realistically, it's no. I'm no, I could probably help you out. Let me do a favor for you over here. Let me do some connections. And so during this process, the last 4 or 5 months, I've come to a conclusion of I want to do risk management in quant. That's what I like to do, but I would like to do in a position where I can make a difference and collect a good solid paycheck. If I can't do both, I'm not going to be happy. At the last firm, I felt like I was making a difference and collecting a really good paycheck for some time. And then I felt like I lost my ability to kind of make things happen. And because I couldn't make things happen anymore for a variety of reasons, part of it being me, I think I'm kicking myself in many instances of looking back and thinking there were things I could have done differently. But also at the same token, they were just structures and I think barriers and hurdles in the way. And I had loudly voiced my struggles and my hurdles and things needed to get moved and changed. And going to the ER was kind of that wake-up call of like, I can keep slamming my head on this wall every day, hoping that someday we break through and things get shifted and changed. Or I can just jump ship and just coast it out. And instead of doing what most people do, which is going to find the next opportunity, lining the next opportunity up and making that clean transition, I wanted to go out on the best terms possible. I didn't want them to think like somebody offered me more money or somebody had a better opportunity, or I didn't leave for any better, greener grass on the other side of this. I wanted it to be very clear, like I'm leaving for a very, very specific reason. I gave such a ridiculously long time for my notice as well. Like I would stay up to 6 months, basically 6 months that I wanted to stay, to get everything tied up, loose ends, everything done, wrapped up and out of there, because I wanted to go out on good terms. I want to keep those relationships solid, and I want to have those discussions, trying to just keep the relationships together. Now, monetarily, it makes no sense. Like I should have just lined up a job, went out, paid a bunch of extra money, jumped off, went to another role, got a CRO or a head of research or head of model development or validation roles, and been on my merry way. But I didn't. That's just not who I am as a person. I don't always do things financially sound. I like to keep relationships and networks and opportunities just open and available as much as possible with that. So I don't like burning bridges. So that's the piece of that. The one realization I've come to is like, I'm going to stick at this out. I'm going to find the next opportunity with this. And I'm kind of in a tight bind with this now as we're looking at 2025 and 2026 in review. So one of my great backups here is the fact that my wife has a decent job in banking. So my wife works in risk management in banking as well. Their firm got bought out. They're going to be doing layoffs here in January. So I'm in this position now of like, my wife has made good money. I don't really need to work. I have time to pivot and find a really good opportunity and make sure everything lines up and, you know, making sure I'm happy and making good progress. I can really help somebody out, because if I'm not helping you out, I don't want to work for you. But making sure I can really help you out. The paycheck lines up with what I think my worth, my value is there. And I can kind of juggle some of these presentations and I can work remote. Because as many of you know, I travel to schools and universities, and I like to be involved with the industry, and I like to have discussions and talking points. And often it's hard to find a really good job where you're looking for a CRO sort of role or a head of research role, where you can network and kind of do these sorts of side things where I help university students, career advisory, and travel and all that, which often benefits the firms I'm at. To be honest with you guys, we do it for hiring and a bunch of other things. But trying to convince someone of that. And then also, I don't want to leave Dallas. Like, I have set roots here. I have my family here. I'm not looking to up and move for an amazing opportunity. Yes, I'm talking like you'd have to be coming in the 7 figures for base salary to get me to move. I'm not looking to move. That's just not what's in the cards for me. But I would love to get like a remote opportunity if not, or do some sort of hybrid thing in Dallas here and find some great company to work with and kind of do risk management, quantitative research, modeling, and that sort of, you know, my skill set, the things I really enjoy doing here. And so as I mentioned, like my wife's company's getting bought. We don't know if she's going to have a full-time job with them or if she's going to get laid off or what's going to happen. So this is putting a little bit of a wrench in the plans and everything that's coming together with this. And then on top of this, I have, as many of you know, OVVO Labs. So I'm still working through OVVO Labs. We're looking for investors. We have 2 investor meetings set up this month, for example. Some people that are kind of interested in the idea. If you have not heard of OVVO Labs right now specifically doing NNS, which is nonlinear, non-parametric statistics, which can be applied to things like option pricing, which they have already a product out for doing option pricing, portfolio construction, portfolio optimization, and the macroeconomic forecasting for time series. They already have all these 3 products done and out. The big vision, though, for OVVO Labs is to get some investors lined up and set up in the sense that it's a true fintech company. It's solely there to generate financial technology and then sell financial technology to other firms to help reduce some of these costs. So overheads with research and quantitative methods and getting things up and running. So the way the business model would work is essentially we would come up with these tools and products and designs, and then you could either purchase to use tools like the portfolio tool, the option pricing, and the macroeconomic forecasting. That's already all tools that you can purchase now. Like you can subscribe, sign up. It's a couple $100 a month, and you can get these forecasts out and use all this through a Shiny app in R. And we're we're doing great on that side of that. So big shout out to Fred for all the work that he's done and built and everything he's actually built in that. And then my vision along with this is like there's all these other pieces of models that just aren't done very well. And part of this is bringing in consulting. Like let's say you want to build out a better model or a better portfolio construction method or a loss model, on the banking side, like I've done a lot of. If you're wanting to do those, we're also offering consulting with that. But I want to bring in the technology piece of building out better technology that we can sell to other firms to use. Now, putting this business plan together is tough. Finding good investors that believe in the dream, that want to look at financial technologies and realize that most other tools that are available, whether paid or free on Python or open source like R and all that, they suck. A lot of them just aren't that well put together, or they're like these great building blocks and you have all these great free building blocks, but like putting them together is hard and challenging. And so even at multiple jobs I've been at, I've built out my own libraries for open source because open source just isn't that great. So if we could put together a true fintech, like actual financial technology that could be used in banks, financial institutions, investment firms, for example, as well, streamline a lot of this and bring the standards of the industry up and help out companies and investors, that's the dream. It's kind of like, as Fred puts it, like a Bell Labs. Like it's bringing together the best and the brightest minds, chasing a lot of these different sorts of technologies and ideas. I would love to spend more time on the AI space. I have not had that much time to do it. I have a lot of interesting ideas, concepts, and testings with the kurtosis conjecture to fixing machine learning, a lot of the black box models. A lot of these things can be converted into tools and process and tests to help people build better models. Again, we could sell these off. And then on top of that, I have a bunch of time series things I've had stirring in my head for over a decade that I need to work on as research, and I haven't had time to do it. So part of this is me personally just wanting to do research and getting research done, as we've kind of shown here. The other part is getting OVVO Labs up and ready and funding, so I'm hoping we can find some funding for that. And then depending on how the timing works out on this, we'll figure out where I actually end up in the long run. If I start to go down the path of starting just to apply to jobs that look interesting that might align with this, right? If my wife loses her job and I'm not really bringing that much money now because I'm doing some career consulting here and there, doing some academic consulting, but so far nothing is really paying the bills on my end of it. It's not like I'm getting anywhere near a reasonable compensation for the time that I'm putting into these projects. I'm working at a big discount to make things happen, right? It's just trying to explore and see what the opportunities are. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. And if anything looks promising, we can put it together. Awesome. If not, though, it looks like we might end up getting forced more towards like looking at a more traditional job. So looking for something in the chief risk management side, looking for something in the head of research, model development, model validation side, but really doing it right, really bringing in quantitative methods and rigor and insight and explainability, which many of you know I'm a huge fan of as well. So anyways, 2025 was a great year. I think career-wise, it's been a bit scary as I left and have floated and trying to figure out the last end of 2025. I have been enjoying time with the family though. So that has been what I've been trying to do as well, is juggle. Like I've got a 2-year-old at home, my 5-year-old's in kindergarten, trying to enjoy the time with them of grocery shopping, going to the park, going out to lunch, just being a dad, like focusing on being a better dad is a big part of this stepping away as well. Focusing on my health. So Project Phoenix updates on this as well. I lost at 10 pounds at one point. I think I'm bouncing between like 8 and 10 right now. I ran my half marathon, 2 hours, 16 minutes and like 46 seconds, which was decent. It's my first real half marathon here, but the real success and the win out of this is not the race. It's not the time. It's been my whole health has changed quite a bit, to be honest with you guys. My mental health, I've been spending more time, which I can't see, but I've got like stacks of books and things here. I've been trying to focus more on just like, I'm not here to make money. I'm not here to stress myself out. I'm here to think and process and be a quant and research and make videos and talk to people about their careers and get enveloped in that, you know. And then also just trying to take a step back and realize like there's more to life, right? Again, running. I'm just running. Like even now after my half marathon, I'm getting back into the runs. I'd like to settle into at least, 3 5Ks a week, maybe squeeze in some 8, 9, 10 mile runs as well. I don't know if I'm going to do a marathon ever. I don't know if I'm going to do another half marathon. I'm certain I'll be running the mileage of 5 and 10Ks consistently throughout the year. So that's not really, I don't know. A race is a race is a race. I don't know. I had a lot of fun at the Dallas Marathon, but I don't know if I'm going to like be putting a bunch of time and effort into trying to do these races. I will tell you, during my training, like, I was sicker than sick. My kids had the flu or whatever. I got the flu, and I'm running through a lot of this because I tried to take off some days and I'm still recovering. And, you know, like, my half marathon's coming up and I'm trying to cover all that. But I feel healthier. I feel a little bit more energetic. Again, I'm to be honest with you, I'm struggling. I'm missing the part of being in the team. I'm missing the part of solving the problems. Like, and it's been hard for me to like be like, okay, I'm trying to step back. I'm trying to slow down. I'm trying to think clearly. Because me, I'm like, I could be helping out another company. I could be, you know, the head of a department. I could be getting, you know, great additions and bringing employees in and training and doing all this fun stuff. And I'm missing that. Like, that's eating away at me. And I really want to get back to that. But I need to find a company that's going to really value me and wants me to make changes to what they're doing and really run with the risk and the quant side of that. And then my health side, as I mentioned, is just, I've been doing better. I'm feeling good on this side of it. It's been fun trying to kind of run and train, and my eating has been getting better as well because I've been training and I'm focusing a little bit more on the eating, but it does take up quite a bit of my time to exercise, handle the kids, the family, and then try to do all these other things here. And then finally, the optimistic 2026. I think there's a lot to come out of 2026, and it is a complete black box future for me. I have no idea what's going to be had or done in 2026 with my wife's job, my working situation, OVVO Labs, my research that I'm wanting to do. I will also be at quite a few conferences this year, or at least a couple. I've already made some promises. The Quant conference, Agora Data, is completely like really excited and motivated and pushing that as well for us again this year. So a big shout out and thank you to them. I think we're going to be doing well. But I think 2026 will be an amazing year. Very optimistic, a lot of quant work to do, but I have no idea what's to come next. So anyways, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And as always, until next time.